right, folks, that is the one and only, the legendary violin virtuoso, Itzhak Perlman, and I am so honored and thrilled to say that he is sitting right here next to us in the studio. So great to see you, sir.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming up. Schindler's List theme, very, very significant for you, born in Israel. I could see the passion in your face, as you always have when you play the violin, but that had to be very special every time you play that.
Oh yes, I'm always amazed how John Williams, who wrote the music, got the flavor of this, and it's one of those pieces that wherever I go, almost the only thing that they ask specifically is for me to play Schindler's List.
It just brings tears to your eyes.
Wherever it is, whether it's in South America or the Far East or the United States, it doesn't matter. It's an international request.
Speaking of international, today is World Polio Day, and you have accomplished everything that you've accomplished with having suffered the effects of polio from age 4, I believe.
Age 4, yes.
Talk about how you overcame, how you persevered, and how obviously you're in a wheelchair. Talk about how you accomplished what you accomplished despite what you went through.
Look, I got polio when I was 4, and what you need is a support system. That meaning your parents, meaning people who believe in you. And I always say to people, what about how amazing that you play the violin? And I said, you've got to separate your abilities from your disabilities. I was not affected by my hands. I was affected by my legs. Polio affected my legs, so it had nothing to do with playing the violin or not playing the violin. I actually wanted to play the violin before I had polio, and then afterwards there was no reason
not to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, of course, your accomplishments speak for themselves, and who you are speaks for itself. But you're dedicating this time to stress the importance of maintaining the fight against polio and the polio vaccine.
Absolutely. It's very important. It's almost, people would say, it might be an unfortunate time right now because with all the Ebola that we hear about. But the difference here is that with Ebola, it is such a devastating disease, and there is still no cure. They're still working on vaccines. The fact of the matter with polio, there is a cure. There is a vaccine, and the amount of cases is relatively small, but people don't realize that if we don't really eradicate it completely, it can grow.
Right.
But because isn't it a shame, would be a shame that we are so close to getting rid of it and just would get sidetracked with something else.
Well, what is the reason? In other words, I would assume in the United States, in fact, I'm pretty sure, I know what I'm talking about, that you can't go to school, unless you're vaccinated. So in this country, it's pretty much, you get the vaccination.
Absolutely.
It's around the rest of the world where in some cultures they consider it, they're trying to trick us, they're trying to give us the disease, and they stay away from it.
It's the infrastructure also, so you have you have the people believing that would work or not believing that it would work. That's one thing, and the other thing is how close you can get everybody to be vaccinated, and that's just a question of money. It only takes 60 cents to vaccinate a child and change their life forever, and make sure that they have a good future. Why we're so close? Why not do it?
Now I know you're not a medical expert, and I'm not looking for an answer in that realm. But nonetheless, we've heard so much. I think it started in California, where a group of kids, a cluster of maybe 9 or 10 kids, young children, came down with polio-like symptoms, is what they said, where weakening limbs, and they didn't know what the long-term effects would be. I still don't know how that panned out. And then the entervirus 65 or whatever it's called. Now they're saying that might be because there have been more cases around the country, sporadic, but they say it could be a cousin or some kind of relative to, God forbid, to the polio virus. So when you hear something like that, what goes through your mind?
Well, look, what I hear is that the important thing is for us to pay attention. And I think that I believe in, the modern medicine is fantastic. It's wonderful, and people are doing great things. But what you hear, a lot of it you hear on the news, and there's a lot of, people are a little bit nervous and panicking. Things are under control. Sometimes they're not, but so you learn from when it isn't. But as far as the polio is concerned, we've got to really just finish it.
Right.
And so we cannot just relax, and just stand by and just say, oh, it's nothing. There are like 400 cases.
No, so you're looking for 100%
Absolutely,
eradication.
from all the countries. From
Absolutely.
all the countries, yes.
All right, and so Ebola does it frighten you at all?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is that I can't wait until they actually produce the vaccine. But meanwhile, there is, even one person that has something like the latest doctor and so on. You see they're just attacking that, and they have to do that.
What's next for you concert-wise?
Well, concert-wise in New York, I have a recital at Avery Fisher Hall on December 3rd, which, I haven't played in New York for like 7 years. I just realized, maybe, because I'm in New York, so I'm playing in New York, not just in the hall. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So that's going to be the 3rd of December.
And in the short time I've known you, a half hour, you just have a great sense of humor about everything.
Well, I looked in the mirror before I came to you just to make sure that I looked good and to practice some of the jokes.
No, but you do have a great sense of humor, and you were born in Israel.
Yes.
Big supporter of Israel. Are you optimistic that there could ever be?
I'm always optimistic. I'm always optimistic because I cannot afford not to be. I always hope that there'll be something.
Yeah, well,
it will be positive.
I hope you're right. I'm a little less optimistic, but
I hope I'm right.
I do hope you're right. It has been an honor and a pleasure, and I'd love to see you at Avery Fisher Hall.
Please come. It'll be good. I'll enjoy the concert, so why don't you as well?
I would love that. I would love that. The great Itzhak Perlman, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, and just a pleasure. I wish I could talk to you all day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, we have a lot more when we come back. The former United States Assistant Secretary of State for International Organizational Affairs, Brian Hook, will be here. We're going to keep you up to date on everything going on with the Ebola situation, not only here in New York, but the nurse who was released who caught it in Dallas. All that straight ahead. Don't go away.
Current Kansas Governor Republican Sam Brownback easily won his seat in 2010, raking in more than 63% of the vote. This time around, he's struggling, and members of his own party may be to blame. According to a New York Daily News report, more than 100 Republican Kansas politicians have thrown their support behind Brownback's challenger, State Representative Paul Davis. So why the split within the GOP? Brownback may just be too conservative, as evident by the sweeping anti-abortion laws that came to fruition during his tenure. Davis, the minority leader of the Kansas House of Representatives, is considered to be a moderate and is popular on both sides of the aisle, especially when it comes to his ability to work through financial challenges. Still, Brownback gets credit for working to decrease income taxes and for passing legislation to help small businesses. Depending on which poll you look at, either candidate is favored, or that's why political analysts call this race a toss-up. However, Davis's lead is steady, a big reason analysts say Brownback should be very worried.